A big question that should be asked when it comes to leadership development, now whether you're developing yourself or others, is what kind of world are you preparing for? Is the world amazing or amazingly awful and messed up? The right answer is both. But we need to build leaders that aren't afraid or intimidated by the big challenges of the world. We need leaders who are both realistic and optimistic, and who know how to show up even in the face of scary odds. Let's consider a couple of amazing things we've achieved in just the last 20 years. So today, every day, 800 women die in childbirth. That's almost 10,000 a year. But 20 years ago, that number was almost double that. So that has come down by almost 50% in the last 2 decades. So likewise, the deaths of children under 5 have also decreased by nearly half in those same 20 years. And globally, the proportion of people living in extreme poverty has also been cut in half in just the last 2 decades. So in general, it wouldn't be a stretch to say that the world is objectively healthier and wealthier, but perhaps not necessarily wiser. So even considering all of that amazing progress we've made, we've simultaneously proven that we have an impressive capacity to create just as many problems as we're solving. So it's even a bit paradoxical, isn't it? We can sell so much of our technology on the promises of efficiency, yet find ourselves completely overworked and overwhelmed. So there's this critical problem here. It's that as the attention-hungry demands pile up and all of these problems we're making, we're simultaneously destroying and wasting one of our scarcest resources, our leadership capacity. In order to keep up with the problems that we're creating and hopefully limit that amount ultimately, we need to also increase our capacity to lead. And in order to do that, we need to dismantle 3 key myths of great leadership that have become completely obsolete with the death of the information age. First, the myth of the perfect leader. So with examples like Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, it's tempting to believe in the idea of an idle leader. We're easily impressed by grand achievements, big goals, big numbers, big egos. It's tempting to hope and believe that maybe someone like them could just solve the big problems we're facing. With leaders like them around, what good can we possibly do by comparison? Why not leave those big jobs up to them to handle? But the evidence that we're seeing today is that even billion-dollar bankrolls aren't enough to solve big problems. So trying to build a more perfect leader, a more perfect Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, that is mostly perfect most of the time, isn't only inefficient, but it's also ineffective. If the amazing work is reserved only for the amazing leaders, then we've constructed a skewed reality where the potential of our everyday leaders is completely wasted. We're over-investing our best attention and concern with ordinary problems. We've constructed the bones of the second myth, the myth of busy. Pay attention throughout your day to how many times you use the word busy. How many times do you have the thought, I'm so busy, it's so busy. See, as a consultant and a coach, I've been in many business environments with that very convincing illusion. Yes, all the issues on your issues list exist. And yes, all the requests in your inbox are real. And yes, all of the budgeted portfolios of work are there. And yes, all of those customer and client demands are knocking on your door. But don't forget about the other end of things that also exists. The reality that in any given moment, you will see something, choose something, and do something. Just one thing. It is the fundamental reality of any achievement and described best with the quote that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. It's what I call the broad and the narrow. Overwhelming workload and just doing one thing. That's the first bit of small math. How might you narrow down everything to what is worth seeing today? choosing something worthwhile, and from that, following through and doing just one thing. Armed with this small math, might we waste less attention worrying about everything? And then if we can place our unique talents and gifts in the service of big ideas with that kind of surgical precision, how might we free up our true leadership capacity, using the best part of us for the most worthwhile things? Ah, yes, our innate strengths. That brings us to our third myth, the myth of self-sufficiency. With idle leadership on one hand and the desperate desire to be safe and appear good on the other, it's too easy for us to fall into the trap of self-absorption and denying our vulnerabilities. This is the other side of the coin when we subscribe to an idea of a perfect leader. Do we then not need to be perfect ourselves? This is another popular way we waste effort and attention on masking our weaknesses, when instead, the opportunity our faults and imperfections give us is to invite others to bring their gifts to the table. How might our own gifts find their way to the service of others if we're blind to what other people need? Once we've seen through these three myths, we can begin to tap back into the wasted capacity all around us that can be used for tackling big changes. Now here's the last bit of small math and where it comes in. Consider the big numbers of big challenges. Homelessness in the United States, for instance. Estimates place the number of individuals experiencing homelessness in the United States in early 2022 at about 582,000 people. So for that large a number, what small number also must be true? We know that in any given day, perhaps in our own communities, one person might become homeless. And one person might also find a home. Then we can ask ourselves, what meaningful change can I effect for that small number, for that one? That kind of small mental math works for all sorts of big challenges and big changes. The point I hope you can see is how we might overestimate the effort it takes to take on big challenges, because we underestimate the impact of our smallest actions. Whether we take responsibility for it or not, what we see, choose, and do influences others. And if we make choices and take actions that create apathy or busyness for others, there's a cost to that. If we can bring even a fraction of our best selves forward each day, how might we inspire more hope around us? In a world of big, scary problems and intimidating odds, find the small math that matters. Wield your unique gifts to impact that math and teach others to see the small math for themselves. Embrace your imperfections and use those God-given invitations to invite others to bring their strengths forward. Your leadership capacity matters. World-changing math is closer than you think. So what kind of leaders are you creating?